Today, from the last December, we all know that this coronavirus, which originated in China, now starts spreading to other countries, other continents, and ultimately it has started creating a serious impact on our economy. Several countries are following different models for preventing this spread of coronavirus. You all know very well. To start with China, China has announced lockdown in Wuhan province, and after like say that corona losing a lot of lives in thousands, they were able to curtail the spread of coronavirus in Wuhan. But however, there is a second wave which is taking place now. Later, it got spread in the nearby, like say, Asian countries, and this deadly virus has made a serious impact on the Western European countries. Even when the Western European countries were impacted by this virus, USA was not taking much of efforts to counter this coronavirus, spread of coronavirus. I'm talking about the health aspects, medical aspects. Later, US started facing the real pain of the spread of corona, and close to 50,000 lives they have lost now, only next to Spain, Italy, and Great Britain. Now from USA, it went to the South American region, and now it's creating a serious impact there. Whatever it may be, there is no single model. I'm talking about the economic model, policy decisions at the central government level of each country to counter the impact of coronavirus. For example, Singapore initially decided to not to go for a countrywide lockdown, but now they are resorting to countrywide lockdown. Japan, which was not like say interested in a countrywide lockdown, now they are going for a countrywide lockdown. Whereas countries like USA, it like say for example, the US president has given this option to the state governors who can take a decision on to go for a countrywide lockdown. But however, 90% of US is under lockdown now because of the impact. Coming to India, though the impact, the initial impact started in the month of January. Okay, this is not a seminar to from the political aspect. We will be taking stock only on the developments that has taken place. What happened is government has started screening at airports, and though it was not so like a novel model, a very authentic model of screening and testing, somehow the coronavirus has started spreading in India. People say that we have crossed from first stage to the second stage. Some experts say that we have crossed from the second stage to the third stage. But however, there is a consensus that we are almost closer to the end of the second stage, and it may spread, expand. Like say, there will be a like a geometrical proportion. This expansion of this impact is going to be there in our country. Now, coming to the economic aspect, China being a country, I'm not from the political comparison. China can be compared with India in one term, not militarily, not economically, but in one aspect they are closer to us. That is the population. So they have like say 150 crore, closer to 150 crore population. They never resorted to a countrywide lockdown. Maybe the population would be one of the main reason for that. However, they were able to successfully control the first wave of coronavirus. They spent a lot. They created new hospitals, a new infrastructure, and they are successful. Whatever it is, the same thing, the same model, like say what is practiced in India. Initially, there was an announcement on countrywide curfew. It was a one-day curfew. You all know that. I welcome that because at least it has created awareness among Indians that because it is a 130 crore, 35 crores populated country, are all not educated, massive, huge, like say geographical area which is covered by little educated, illiterate, or of rural population who may be informed but they don't know the impact of the coronavirus. This is the case. So this curfew has created a sense of understanding, people started asking questions. Why should there be a curfew? What is happening in this country? Based on this awareness, later, 21-day lockdown was announced. But one serious mistake or a drawback in that announcement is that the government did not give enough time for the citizens of this country to prepare themselves to face a 21-day lockdown. Very sincere, very more important thing is that first thing we will discuss about the migrant population. They never counted, they never took stock of the migrant population in this country. Let me give you some important inputs about the migrant population. For example, go to a restaurant in Chennai, go to a restaurant in Pondicherry. If you have 10 employees, if you have 10 employees in a restaurant, only two or three will be the native. Other two or three will be from the state. And five of the employees in a restaurant will be from North India, mostly from Orissa, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and other places. So this is a status. When go to North, if you take up a restaurant in Mumbai or say, for example, in Delhi for that matter, no Delhi, people from Delhi will be working there, but we could see a lot of people from Uttar Pradesh, even Tamil Nadu, they work in Delhi. This is a status of a migrant population in our country. Without taking stock of the migrant population, the pain that migrant population will face, lockdown was announced, and you would all watched what happened in the media, in the television media, in the various social media and newspapers. A lot of distance for the migrant population. They walked miles to reach their homes. There was no bus facility, there was no railway facility, even they were not offered food for their family to be taken care. This was the situation that was happening for a long time. We are closer to 30 plus days. But even now, there is no control on the distance for migrant population. Even though state governments are taking responsibility to control the impact of migrant population, still what I say is that there is no, say, sufficient cash or food that is being distributed in a standardized model to reach the migrant population. This is one of the first time. Second, about the agriculture and agricultural laborers who are, say, who contribute close to 16% of India's GDP, who provide the sector which provides 50% of the Indian population, 50 to 60% of the Indian population. A lot of stress, lot of issues for the farming community because the supply chain was cut on the day one of the lockdown period, and followed by there was no transportation facility, there was no laborers available to harvest, to transport, and after all, even if the laborers are available and transportation is available, the markets are closed. So what happened is that a majority of the farming community, the farmers, the farm laborers, the entire say economy of this particular sector got affected. Then comes the micro, small, and medium enterprises. So that is a large section of our economy. Like I would say, whatever happens in the global economy, India will be insulated. India will, able to revive its economy for two factors. One is a still larger contribution of the agriculture sector, 15-60% of our GDP. 50% of our population is getting jobs from this sector, and the MSME, which employs, they are all they are entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, and these small entrepreneurs will be giving employment to two, three, four, five employees by giving a lot of employment opportunity for the Indian. What happened? On day one of lockdown, all these enterprises were closed. The economic model, the savings pattern of these people, particularly the micro and small industry sector, they are single person establishments, or they will be having one or two employees, but they never save for the next day. What happened is that they were not having enough money to take care of themselves, to take care of the family. These three sectors created a very serious impact. The fourth one is the medium and the large scale industries. You all know that this sector, though give comparatively lesser employment to Indians, but they contribute significantly to the economy of our country. If you divide the economy of our country, you can understand that basically it is agriculture which contributes, followed by the
అవును సార్.
industry,
ಒಂದು
which is closer to
ಸೆಮಿನಾರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಮುರುಗನ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ.
and the major part is the industry, service sector, which contributes to closer to 56% of our economy. What happens here is that we have to understand all the three major segments of our economy: the service sector, the industry, the agriculture sector, all got for a serious like say, impact by the coronavirus. So
అలాగే
now
వీళ్ళంతా
let,
ఓకే.
now let us talk about the
అవును సార్.
economic impact. What happens? How did they manage their family? How do they like say how industries manage their industries? How industries manage with their employees? How small time entrepreneurs manage with their household expenses? How farmers manage to at least survive? Government has come out with maybe not immediately. Government has come out with one or two schemes. Initially, it was an announcement by the Prime Minister that some around 15,000 crore will be distributed to the states. And there was some time, it has taken some time to reach the states, followed by announcement by our finance minister, Nirmala Sitaraman, that was around 1 lakh 70 crore package. I'm not going into the intricacies of the package. I'm not going into the like say there is a
Please mute yourself.
thought that people say that it is not well devised and it was just extension of the budgetary announcements. Whatever it is, there was an 1 crore 70 lakhs package that is announced by the state government for the states, or which has to be distributed by the states and which will reach the Indian citizens. One interesting thing is rupees 500, which will be deposited or which already got deposited in the Jantan account of all the those who had the Jantan account, and the rupees 2000 which passed on to the farming sector. These two aspects I'll touch now. First, about the Jantan account. Jantan account is not universal, basically. It is not an account which every citizen holds. If every citizen have a Jantan account, I'm happy about that because at least this 500 reached all the Indian citizens. But it is not so. However, crores of Jantan account holders had the benefit of getting transferred that 500 rupees and it is there already. Coming to the farmers transfer of rupees 2000 or so to the farming community, we have to understand that that transfer is only for the farmers and not for the agricultural laborers. What India is of small time farmers and who in turn employ a lot of agricultural laborers, and this money is not for the agricultural laborers. So, however, what happened is that followed by this, we have to take stock of the disbursements, relief measures that was given by state governments. For example, Tamil Nadu, government of Tamil Nadu has given 2000 rupees as relief to each household. Along with that, there was it was 1000 rupees distribution to each household plus some like say groceries through the public distribution system. Taking stock of rupees 500 under in the Jantan account, rupees 1000 distributed to each household by the government of Tamil Nadu, and the groceries. If you like say calculate the entire cash benefit or the means benefit enjoyed by people of Tamil Nadu, for example, I'm talking only for an example, it is closer to something around 1600, 1700 rupees. This is the entire like say visible benefit or relief measure which has reached the citizens of this country, particularly in this region. So what happens is that if you divide by 30 days, you can understand that it is merely 60 rupees, 70 rupees per day to each household. We should should ask a question to ourselves: can we run a family with this 50 rupees, 60 rupees? Is it possible to run a family with 60 rupees per day? A liter of um, milk costs 40 plus per day. In any case, I would say 250 to 300 rupees is necessary for a small nuclear family to run their life. So quantifying for 30 days, or for quantifying it for this 4-day lockdown period, you can understand that a family requires a minimum of 8,000 to 10,000 rupees to lead a very, very, very decent starvation free life during this lockdown period. However, what happens now is that you all know that very little relief measure has been transferred to the citizens and extensively debated, extensively discussed. Government understands that there is a need for immediate need for disbursement of funds throughout the country. I'm not talking about Jantan account. I'm not talking about the public distribution system, or I'm not talking about distribution of rupees 1,000 or so per ration card holder. It should not be so. What I'm talking is that whatever relief it may be, either it is 2,000, 3,000, or 5,000, it has to be devolved from the center to each and every citizen, irrespective of whether he is Ambani, Adani, or a small flower vendor, or a small pani puri seller, whoever it may be, throughout the country, it has to be dispersed. This is not the time to take stock, to count who is who. It has to be universally distributed to each and every person in this country, so that later we will discuss, so that every person, the government can ensure that everyone has 5,000 rupees in his hand. Similarly, there is a lot of stock of food grains with the Food Corporation of India. There is a lot of stock. I would say they normally maintain a strategic limit. As of now, the Food Corporation of India has 4 times the strategic requirement of food grains. The food grains, two major staple food grains, wheat and rice. In rice, there are two components: paddy and milled unmilled rice. So what happens is that we have close to 70 million tons of food grains in our country, which is 4 times the requirement, strategic requirement of our country. So what happens is that in other case, if unutilized, this huge stock of food grains will be, like say, will go waste. This is the right time to distribute the food grains to entire community, entire country. If someone doesn't want to use that, that's okay. But to all deserving population, to all the vulnerable section of our country, these food grains has to be distributed universally. Universal distribution of cash, universal distribution of food grains, so that each and every household has some money and food grains, so that they could ensure that even if the lockdown continues for few more days, like say extended for a few more days, they will stay back in their house, they will follow the government orders, they will get like say self isolated, physical distance will be made, they will support the government, because this is a threat not only for them, to their neighbors, and to everyone in this country, in fact the entire earth. So the first foremost requirement the government has to do is to ensure that enough cash and food grains reach each and every household, by which we can say that they are all safe in their house. Second, now I will move on what should be done from other aspects. For example, this is not the suggestion. We are all now, even now we are taking stock of the situation. How will government manage to distribute, for example, 5,000 rupees to each household in this country? Definitely, it is going to cost much, in lakhs of crores. Question may arise: where will the funds come from? It will be a serious question. It is a question which is getting debated in this country. Two, three aspects I wanted to touch in this aspect. If you want to understand where will the funds come from, you have to understand the economic strength of our country, the basic, like say, budget of our country, the GDP of our country. Let me tell you one by one. The GDP of our country in 2019-20 is closer to 200 crores, 200 lakh crores, which means and our like say budget is around 26.5 lakh crores. So closer to 10% of our GDP, like say GDP is our budget amount. What happens is that if this projection based on this 2019-20 projection, if we extrapolate for 2020-21, the GDP of our country will be around 230 crores, 230 lakh crores. Okay, if you divide this 230 lakh crores by 365, you will get a lump sum. That should be multiplied by this 40 days of lockdown period. You can understand that if on this 40 days lockdown period, the economic impact that is going to be created by this lockdown period by coronavirus is close to the 30 lakh crores. 30 lakh crores, which means closer to 1 year of budget amount. So the loss that is going to be created by these 40 days in terms of India's GDP will be equal to the amount of budget of this country. So what we have to suggest is that we have a budget of closer to 30 lakh crores. Okay. Already we have made a budget. In February, that budget is there. This budget, any budget for that matter, center or state, any country for that matter, a budget will be basically divided into two aspects: committed expenditure and non-committed expenditure. Committed expenditure are the expenditure which is for salary, which is for pensions, which is for interest repayments, etc. And a non-committed expenditure or expenditure which are supposed to be met based on the budgetary proposals. For example, like say buying some arms and ammunitions, constructing some big industry, laying road and other infrastructures, dams, many such non-committed expenditures will be there. So what we have to do is that we have to cleverly utilize the non-committed part of our budget for this relief measures for the impact created by the coronavirus. So by which it will be very easy for us, it will be very easy for us to utilize the funds which is reserved for non-committed expenditure for relief measures. By the way, what we can do is that as of now, in the first announcement, our finance minister has made a package, relief package of 1,70,000 crore. If you compute that 1,70,000 crore, it is closer to 1% of our GDP. It is very closer to 1% of our GDP. As I said earlier, our GDP is 200 lakh crores. What finance minister package said that it is 1.7 lakh crores, which is 1%, approximately 1%. So what we have to do is that, now listen to me. I said in the initial information, every country is impacted by coronavirus. Every country has an economic impact. Every country is trying to safeguard their citizens, provide some relief measure to the citizens. Every country is trying to revive their economy. So, for example, America has spent 10% of its GDP in trillions of dollars. Malaysia, our Asian neighbor, Malaysia has spent 16% of its GDP, whereas so far India has spent, so far, okay, definitely announcements will be coming, but so far India has spent only 1% of its GDP. So just 5% of the GDP, 1% of the GDP is 1.77 lakh crore. 5% of the GDP, we can able to manage up to 7.5 lakh crore or more than that, so that that fund can be utilized for diverting to the states or immediate, like say, direct cash transfer, so that every citizen in this country is getting money to meet the exigencies created by the impact of corona. So this is what is an immediate step which we have to consider at this point of time. Now, coming to the second aspect of what will be the like say employment opportunity. Will it like create a serious loss to the jobs? Will it create like say the existing employees to go out of the jobs? Yes, there will be a serious loss, serious unemployment issue that is going to be created by this corona impact of corona. For example, if you wanted to understand the job market of India, we have to understand what is the prevailing unemployment, like say a rate of unemployment in this country prior to corona, prior to the impact of corona, spread of corona. The employment opportunity in this country, or in fact, I'll put it this way: the unemployment rate of this country was, like say, very pathetic. It was, like say, closer to 8 plus percentage, which was 45-year of a low rate of unemployment opportunity for all these years. I mean, after demonetization and after introduction of GST in this country. For example, if 8%, 8.5% is the unemployment rate that was prevailing prior to corona, you all know that in this 40-day lockdown period, there is, like say, absolute lockdown and no employment opportunity as of now. Few, like say, generous industrialists, generous business owners, they are paying salary to their employees. However, that cannot be taken up for account as of now. When you wanted to compute the unemployment that is going to be created by the impact of corona, you have to add what is plus 8.5%, which is created by demonetization and GST. So you all know there is going to be a serious unemployment opportunity, unemployment in few sectors. Definitely, impact will be in all sectors. There are few sectors which are going to be seriously affected. For example, restaurant business, travel, tourism. Many industries are going to be FMCG, like say retail sector, um, everything for that matter. If you compute the unemployment is going to be created by, I would say that an additional of 3 crore plus employment loss is going to be there after lifting this lockdown, maybe after, like say, May 3rd or so. So, if you count the unemployment rate which was prevailing prior to corona, which is 8.5 percentage, and the additional unemployment that is going to be created by corona, you can understand that the country will face, the citizens of this country is going to face the historical unemployment rate, which we never faced so far. So, this is going to be the state. What is the remedy for this? How to face this unemployment? Will like say will house to house distribution of funds will take care of this issue? Will house to house, home to home distribution of provisions will take care of this issue? Definitely it's not going to happen, because India is highly populated country. Even a 1% addition of unemployment will create a very serious impact, very serious unrest in our country. So what country as such has to do is that we have to make a systematic plan. Industries which require a bailout package, bailout in the sense there are few industries which are going to be closed for some time after the lockdown. For example, airline sector, restaurants. There's going to be a fear among the people to whether to go to a restaurant, whether to, like say, sit next to a fellow person to have a food, something like that. No, it's not going to happen immediately. Travel sector, for example, airline, it's going to take a big, very big hit. So these are the sectors which is going to face a serious impact, which may require a bailout package. Bailout package in the sense the entire responsibility of hand holding the particular sector lies with the central government. The government has to devise a very serious plan, very serious course of action to lift this particular sector. There are certain sector which may not require a bailout package, may require some financial assistance to survive, to come to the normal mode. For example, say automobile sector. Automobile industries are closed. What, or like say a few staff laborers may be there, or the migrant laborers would have moved out. What happens is that these industries will be doesn't require a bailout package, but require a financial package, so that minimum loss they have incurred because of lockdown has to be compensated by the central government, along with a particular, like say, compensation package for 2 months or 3 months, something like that, in terms of salary, in terms of the ESI, in that of contribution to the provident fund, etc. That has to be taken care by the central government. Forget about bailout package. Forget about the financial assistance for recovering. There are certain industries which are just with a small, like say, fine tuning the finances of the industry, they can start immediately. Those industries, they never bother about the loss, and they don't want the government to compensate the loss. What they require is a very good extension of working capital facility, good rescheduling of the term loan facility, by which they could be able to start up their operation. And there is a gestation period. Definitely it will be, say, 1 month, 2 months or so, 6 days or so. The normalcy will return in that particular industry. So these are the things which has to be taken into country's consideration, for which, again, I would say, we have to calculate the budgetary non-committed expenditure. No expenditure, none of the, like say, non-committed expenditure should be taken care by the central government at this point of time. Entire things should be considered into or converted into reserve for meeting the exigencies created by coronavirus, so that they could be able to distribute to the households, they could be able to meet the financial requirements of the industry, they could be able to meet the salaries and wages of the employees working in the industry. And last part would be the other part will be the MSMEs. Almost all, particularly the micro sector, they have zero money. Whatever 1,000 rupees, the 2,000 rupees they had, they already spent. Say for 200, 300 rupees per day, they have already spent. No money at all. One simple calculation I will tell you: 40 days of lockdown. Say for example, a flower vendor is making 200, 300 rupees profit per day. Assume that he is having 3,000 rupees in his pocket. That money would have gone in the first 20 days of lockdown. In the second 20 days of lockdown, absolutely there is no money left out, either what is the reserve he had or given by the government. So what is necessary for to like say, kickstart his own business, small business, whatever it may be? It requires financial assistance. What happened? What we have to government has to do is that it has to go for interest free. Again, I quote: interest free initial distribution of a loan to all micro entrepreneurs and enterprises. Maybe 50,000, maybe a ceiling of 1 lakh for that matter. That's a big money for them, by which I assure you 1 crore self employment, micro level businesses can be initiated in no time in this country. In no time, within no time, it can be initiated in this country. This is how we have to think about the economic recovery, economic revival of our country. Third aspect, I mean, for this is micro businesses and small businesses. We have certain, like say, standard formats. We have self-help groups. We have microfinance institutions. We have, like say, few NBFCs who cater to this segment. Yeah, we have a very strong banking sector. We have banks, public sector banks located in each and every village in this country, who can take care of distribution, or in fact extension of loan facility to kickstart, to start their economic activity at the micro and small level. Coming to the agriculture sector, I said the entire agriculture, like say, sector of this country, almost it has come to a standstill. Though we were able to get vegetables, we are able to get groceries for our daily requirement. If you closely watch what is happening in the field, in the farm, the reality is the most of the perishable goods, tomato, flowers, ladies finger, whatever vegetable perishable items for it, they are all bananas, like they all grown. No laborers were available, no market was available, no transportation facility was available. Like they met with huge loss. Whatever it may be, whether it is tsunami, whether it is a drought, flood, The most vulnerable section of our country is our farmers, is the agriculture sector. So that sector has to be revitalized because they are contributing 60%, 16% of our GDP. We cannot just sit, we cannot just ignore that. So what we have to do is that this 2000 rupees which is being transferred, which got transferred to all those who are beneficiaries under for the Prime Minister's scheme, that is already gone. That they would have spent by this time. There is no resources, no revenue generation from the field. Government has to ensure three aspects. One is availability of labor in the field. Second, when there is an availability of labor in the field, the farmer, whether it is holding 2 acres land, 5 acres land, or a big farmer for that matter, you should have money in his budget to pay salary, wages for the agricultural laborers. The third important aspect, government should provide transportation facility that the farm produce commodity that is produced is taken to the nearby market, whether it is an APMC or whatever market it may be, it has to be transported to that place. And these are all supply side. From supply side, the government has to ensure these facilities are created, for which the agriculture farmers has to be given sufficient loan and other facilities to restart the cultivation activity, because we can stay at home for long. Even it is 1 year of lockdown, no one bothers, provided we have food to eat and we have some money to spend. Worldwide, this is the scenario. And if we are concentrating on our agriculture sector, if our agriculture sector is active with all, let's say, necessary precautions for corona, definitely we can able to ensure that our economy, the reboosting our economy, revitalizing our economy is going to happen. Yeah, like say, not for a long time. Immediate kickstart can be given. This guarantee has to be given. This assurance has to be given or taken care by the government. The third aspect, coming to the big industries definitely they will be having some surplus funds. If not with surplus funds, they will be having some other means of generating money. Definitely, if required by the government of India for support, they should be either through the central government support or through directing the banks to support the industry. Those industries, big industries, medium industries, has to like say they have to be supported. What happens is that I have quoted certain points. I said provisions for the migrant laborers. I said I was talking about the agriculture laborers. I was talking about funding the farmers, agriculturists. I was talking about the micro level entrepreneurs. I was talking about the medium big time industry. When all this, like say, necessary financial assistance is provided by the central government, what will happen is that here comes the real economics. Supply side, supply side, I would say, supply side economy will be good, or supply side activities will be taken care, which means production will happen. Two-wheelers can be produced, cars can be produced. Any type of products which is required with the government support, industries will start with their operations. All economic activity will start, which will result in supply side benefits. Everything will be ready. Now the question is how to recreate the demand. How to recreate the demand? Car is ready. Production started. Economic activity started. Two-wheeler is ready. Who will buy? So here you have to understand that there will be a serious supply demand gap after lifting the lockdown period. After not immediately, maybe 5 6 months after lifting the lockdown period, there will be a serious demand supply gap. Now I want you to refer. I wanted to give a link for this demand supply gap, quoting the Great Depression which happened in 1930s. I'll be quoting upon the few aspects in First World War. I'll be quoting some aspects in the Second World War. I'll be quoting some examples from the global economic crisis, financial crisis, which happened in 2008, 2009. What happened when there was a Great Depression? Those days they call it as blood lines, which means people in America and other Western countries, industrialized countries, There was a long queue. People were waiting for bread. It is called bread lines. Same scenario is happening today. People are waiting for food, which is called as neo bread lines, new bread lines. So after 100 years, we are again into the Great Depression. We are again into a very big unexpected slowdown. It is called Great Slowdown. Now they are calling it as Great Lockdown. From Great Slowdown, now we have moved to Great Lockdown period. What happens is that during those days of Great Depression, okay, what happened is that supply side weakness were there, but however, there was a little bit of demand. Even in World War time, supply side contraction was there, but little bit of demand was there. Even during the Second World War, even during the like say global economic crisis of 2008 2009, demand side contraction was not like say it was not affected to that extent. Say people were there like say some economic like say I mean people who wanted something and they were having some money and they were expecting certain things, products and other things. But unlike those scenarios, now there is going to be a supply side contraction and a demand side contraction, which we call it a vicious circle. Okay, there is no money with the people, and there is, because of no money there is no demand. Because of no demand there won't be sufficient production. Because of no production, like say there will be layoffs, there will be lockdowns. Because of layoffs and lockdowns, there will be won't be any like say revenue generation, distribution of wages and salaries. Ultimately, if you like say link these two supply and demand factors contraction, you can very well classify this as a vicious circle. We have to break this circle. We have to break this cycle somehow with the dynamic thought process at the center, at the RBI level or at the global level, something like that. We have to break the cycle so that somewhere, some point, at some point, there some ignition should start either the demand side, either the supply side. So to create demand, I said after 4 5 months after lockdown, definitely supply side will be quite stronger. At that point of time, if there is going to be a demand side contraction, no use. Again, the country will be pushed to slow down, and like say recession will is likely to continue. What has to be done now? The issue is how to boost our demand side factors. Demand is very simple. When you have money, I will buy something. When I have money, I will buy something. For example, if I have 100 rupees, I'll buy something for 100 rupees. If I have 1 lakh, I'll think of something buying something for 1 lakh. So what happens is that we have to pump, we have to ensure that money reaches the I would say the bottom of the pyramid, from the rural side, from the poorest of the poor. From that level, money has to reach the top. That assurance has to be created, that some facility has to be created to ensure money is pumped into the economy. How to pump money in the economy? Already we are having a serious financial crisis. Already in 2019-20, the direct tax collection has come down significantly. 2019-20 GDP collection, sorry, GST collection, which was projected as it has come down to a very serious, I mean, serious drop was there in GST collection. So both in direct taxes as in indirect taxes, there was a drop in revenue. If that is the situation, followed by lockdown, followed by like say continued recession, followed by like say financial burden on this country to revitalize the economy, how will we get funds to pump funds into the hands of the poorest of the poor in this country? That is another serious question which lies unanswered. Now I would say how to how to revive can be pumped into the economy. One aspect is, one interesting aspect is, maybe many of you will agree or not agree. If at all we face a serious financial crisis to pump money into the hands of the people, I would say two aspects. One is Why at all we should have fiscal maintain a fiscal discipline when the country is under a serious crisis? You all know that 3.5% fiscal deficit is a threshold limit which is fixed by government offices. It's a self designed uh, uh, limits which we have fixed for ourselves. Here, what I wanted to say, if at all fiscal deficit is there, it has to be monetized. We can go for increasing our fiscal deficit limits, and so that money can be generated, for which I mean through which money can be pumped into the economy. Money can be pumped into the economy. Even in a worst scenario, even in a worst scenario, if there is a necessity to print rupee notes, government should not hesitate to print rupee notes, print rupee, circulate in the economy, circulate in the economy. Give free cash. Government can decide 50,000 rupees to each household, to each, like say, whoever is the below poverty line, free 50,000 rupees to everyone in this country. This is how money can be pumped in the economy. When money is pumped at the bottom of the pyramid, automatically multiplier effect will be there. Money will flow through the pyramid, and it will reach almost all segments in this economy, by which a demand side, the demand side contraction can be reduced, so that a gap between the supply and demand in this economy post corona, post lockdown, can be eradicated or can be reduced to some extent, mitigated to some extent. Above all, if you ask me a question, sir, you are talking about printing of money, you are talking about increasing the fiscal like say limits, fiscal deficit limits, and you are talking about pumping of money into the economy. The question remains, sir, you are talking a lot about that. Do India have the strength to tolerate all those pressure that is created by corona, impact of corona? Dear participants, I am going to list out few factors, very interesting factors, which are all considered to be the strength of our economy, which are all considered to be the factors which are positive, which are favorable to us at this point of time. I'll start with the external shocks. External shocks are usually created by the foreign exchange reserves, the demand and supply of foreign exchange. Fortunately, our Reserve Bank of India is sitting with a very, very comfortable foreign exchange reserve at this point of time. In the modern India, independent India, this is the first time we are sitting with a very, very comfortable foreign exchange reserve in terms of billions of, some say it's around 470 billion US dollars, something like that, which is a very comfortable position. Second thing is that export and import. Fortunately, India is not a export dependent country. We are by and large an import dependent country. China is not so. China is an export dependent country, because majority of the revenue of like say budgetary funds of China used to come from foreign sources. India is not so. Whereas we are import dependent. Fortunately, we are not export dependent at this point of time, which means we can manage with our own resources, which means foreign exchange, foreigners, like say, dependence on export is not having a serious impact. On the other hand, our imports, which is used to be more than exports, now there will be a contraction. Where, because entire world is affected by the coronavirus, and there is no necessity for spend huge money, huge dollars, foreign exchange reserves for consuming, for buying petroleum products, petrol and diesel, crude oil for that matter. The prices has come down drastically. The global prices of crude oil and petroleum products has come down drastically. That is one advantage. RBI is having very good foreign exchange reserves. That is the second advantage. We have sufficient food grains in the food corporation godowns. We have RBI's own asset. You all know that RBI's money to the extent of 1.74 lakh crore has been withdrawn few months back to meet the budget, revenue gap by government of India, by our finance minister. Don't bother about that. Still, our Reserve Bank of India is sitting with very good asset base of close to 8 lakh crores. This is one of the strength of our country. So whatever the say threat that used to be there in a recessionary situation, I'm talking about the like say foreign impact. Okay, that won't be there. The foreign exchange impact, that is not going to be there at this point of time. The food that is our grains that is available in the Food Corporation of India and be shifted to or be distributed, can be distributed to each and every household. These are the very positive factors which we are. And above all, India is not a small country. India is not comparatively like say we are not too far from developed nations of this world. Will go beyond say something like 2.5 percentage. I am of predicts that Indian economy will go come down to 1.5 percentage. But what I wanted to say is that whatever it is, whatever it is, whatever it is, Indian economy, even if it crosses the negative, say for example minus 1 percentage, minus 2 percentage, there is a possibility of recovery. There is a possibility of recovery in no time, within a limited period of time. So people talk about a U-shaped curve for recovery. I would ensure that given the positive factors, given the strength of our economy, even with the sufficient like say thought process that is going on with at the central level, and if the suggestions that is posted is taken care to revive our economy, we can revive our economy. India can counter. India can successfully counter the economic impact created by coronavirus. Be confident. Be confident. Be confident. India, fellow Indians, be confident. I wanted to quote what is quoted by none other than famous actor Charlie Chaplin. Nothing is permanent in this world. Nothing is permanent in this world. Not even our troubles. Not even our troubles. And at last, I will wanted to end up this presentation quoting Bhagavad Gita. These two will pass. This trouble always will pass away. Be confident. We will keep career. We will create a successful Indian economy. Thank you for your patient listening for your presentation on this webinar on countering the economic impacts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.